So when most business owners, they think about cybersecurity, they're thinking about software, passwords, antivirus programs, and IT providers. The latest Australian figures show that the average self-reported cost of cybercrime to a small business is now more than $56,000 per incident. And cybercrime reports are being made at a rate of one report every 6 minutes. And this is not just an Australian problem. Verizon, their latest data breach investigations report analysed more than 12,000 confirmed data breaches and found that ransomware was involved in 44%. That report also identified credential abuse, human behaviour as the key pathways that attackers use to gain access to businesses. The interesting thing that's coming through all of these attacks, they don't start with a technical problem. They start with a person making what seemed like a perfectly normal decision at the time. They've trusted an email, they've approved a payment, they've clicked on a link, and then just because they're busy, distracted, or trying to get through their day, they now have a cyber incident. So today we're going to explore why it's no longer an IT problem, why cybersecurity is no longer an IT problem, it's a people's problem. Welcome to the Business Behind Your Business podcast. I'm your host, Paul Sweeney. And look, this is a podcast where we bring you, the business owner, conversations to help you run your business better, reduce your risk, and help your business grow and thrive. We're speaking with experts from a range of fields and focus on practical ideas that you can actually apply in your own business. So after today's conversation, a couple of the key takeaways that you're going to hear or learn from today, so keep listening, are why intelligent and experienced business owners just like you are still falling victim to scams and cybercrime, how you can equip your team to become one of your strongest defenses rather than one of your biggest risks, and some practical habits that's going to help you protect your business from fraud, scams, and the increasingly sophisticated AI attacks. Joining me today is Robert Siciliano, and Robert, he is a cybersecurity expert, private investigator, and a self-described good guy hacker. We'll explore what that means, who spent more than 30 years studying how criminals exploit human behaviour, both offline and online. And what's interested me about Robert's approach here is that he's not just focused on turning business owners into technology experts. Instead, he's helping business owners like you understand why people make mistakes and why traditional cybersecurity training often fails. We're going to learn how businesses can build habits and cultures that make scams, fraud, and deception much harder to pull off. Robert, welcome to the Business Behind Your Business.
Happy to be here. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Look, I'm looking forward to this, and because it's a big area where a lot of business owners get busy, they get distracted, and that's when things go wrong. But I think that's come through in a lot of the information that you've published, the talks that you've been presenting, is that cybersecurity, cyber risk, it's not really about IT. It's actually a human behavior problem. I think a lot of business owners will find that confronting because they believe that good software, strong passwords, a good IT team are going to be enough to get them through. But a lot of the stories I hear about intelligent people, successful business owners, they've been caught by scams. They seem obvious, but they've just been too busy and they've made a mistake. So is that commonplace in your observation, that it is actually a human behavior that's the problem?
100%, or at least 75%. Most data breaches, when I say most, like it's said that as much as 75% are related to human mistakes. And those mistakes could be they were, they clicked the wrong link, downloaded the wrong file, provided the wrong information over the phone. Human error can be as a result of, being scammed, right? And they say that, if you think technology can solve your security problems, then you don't understand the problems and you don't understand the technology, right? The issue here, of course, is that it is humans perpetrating the security issues. It's essentially organized crime, which consists of, in many cases, sociopaths and psychopaths that mean to do harm. And they're the ones that are attacking the humans on the inside of the organization, ultimately, right? It's the human that answers the phone, responds to the text messages or the email. And that human trusts by default, which means that, they want to believe that the person who they're communicating with on the other end has their best interest in mind. That human doesn't want to hurt or harm them. And so most humans go throughout their day, week, month, year, giving the benefit of the doubt, trusting by default, every phone call, email, text message, and the person standing right in front of them. We want to and we need to trust. Therefore, the bad actors, the sociopaths and the psychopaths or organized criminals, they use that trust against us. They weaponize our own biology. And until we begin to train employees that that is actually what the issue is, it's not phishing or just phishing. It's they're hacking your biology. This is what it looks like. And this is what you need to do and what you need to become to effectively recognize that risk.
And you mentioned that it's the actual people behind the technology doing the damage, and they're approaching this. And you mentioned from their psychology, they're bad actors, but they are very good at what they do. They're going about it running their business, which is creating you damage by attacking your systems and undertaking fraud and scams. They're going about their business in a very systematic business like manner, hoping for that you will slip up, that you will be too trusting.
Well, they know you're going to slip up. They know you're too trusting. When we talk about organized crime is involved in cybercrime, it is organized crime has engaged in the process of cybercrime to the degree that it is currently eclipsing the illicit drug trade. That's where we're at. We're looking at like $12.1 trillion in losses by 2031. That's where we're at right now. And so not only do they look at it as a business 24/7, 365, I mean, there's entire hierarchies in these organizations. And the labor, so most people don't know this. Most of the labor that's used to perpetrate cybercrime are victims of human trafficking. So the people that are actually sending the wrong number text messages, the people that are making the phone calls and sending the emails, in many cases, it's a human being that applied for a job online, a job that promised a sign-on bonus, room for advancement, free room and board, right? Free travel to the employment. And once they get there, often in like Southeast Asia, they confiscate their passports. They put a gun to their head. They hold them against their will, and they teach them how to commit fraud against, US, Australia, Europe, and so on.
So it is a very much a human issue, and I think we tend to think about that because when we picture the cybersecurity, the hackers, we're thinking, the clandestine guys in hoodies sitting behind a computer in a dark room somewhere in developed countries, doing it to cause mischief. But the way you've described it, there's some very major, I guess, systemic but also psychological issues that we're dealing with here, um, going well beyond just a kid in a room where we're thinking, that's what we often think of hackers, a kid in a room with just trying to cause mischief.
The kid in the room with the hoodie hacking in his mom's basement, that was like back in 2005. And today, and back then they were hacking for, fun and fame. Today, they purely hack for financial gain. And they're really good at it. And what makes them good at it is more than anything, they're just organized, like a business should be. And that organized business or organized crime or criminal enterprise, they aren't just attacking a network or looking for the vulnerability in the hardware or the software or the exposure in the firewall. They are truly at this point hacking the humans on the inside of those organizations. They're going after the blood, sweat, and tears at this point. They know that human beings have what I call the human blind spot. And the human blind spot is the psychological and biological instinct to trust. We are what is considered as humans an interdependent species. We depend on each other for our survival. Man needs woman, woman needs man, essentially to procreate, to further the species. Okay. It always has been, is, and always will be like that. And we trust by default. And so the people that we meet, phone call, email, text message, we want to give the benefit of the doubt. And I'm, and if I'm repeating myself, it's important that people see that as that is the core part of the issue. And so right now, security awareness training, if it is even provided in an organization, that is not even discussed. What is discussed is, okay, this is what a phishing email looks like. You got to hover your mouse over the URL. This is what the scammergram looks like. So going forward, look out for this. Don't do these things. Do this, or else you're going to be fired. And that's the extent of it. And humans don't respond well to that. Further, the employee doesn't look at any of that as truly even their responsibility, unless, of course, that is their job. But it truly isn't with most employees. Most employees, they serve some administrative role, whatever the case might be. They're not, the chief information security officer. And so as a result, we are training an entire workforce in security awareness, they call it, but it's really not. It's phishing simulation training, which is necessary, but it's only a small part of the problem.
Yeah, I guess you'd probably liken it to the mandatory fire drills that everybody knows is going to happen, and so you do what you're supposed to, and you walk down the stairs and you go and congregate, and then it's all back to your desk. But you mentioned that dependency, that human need for dependency, and a lot of what we try and do is we're trying to reestablish connection. So we've got all our social media, we've got these engagements online with people that we've never actually met in person, and we're trying to build relationships and establish, I guess, a business relationship, hopefully sell with them. But we don't know a lot about these people that we're engaging with online, or who are following us, or requesting information from us. How do we take, I guess, that need, but insulate against the risks? I think you call it a strategic human firewall. Maybe I'm using it in the wrong way, but can you just explain a bit more about what you mean by that human firewall?
Yeah. So, like I, when I am out and about, I'm out, like, say, running, and as I'm running, jogging, right, for fitness, I am paying attention to the ground. I'm paying attention to cracks in the sidewalk. I'm paying attention to a tree whose roots pushed up the cement in the sidewalk, which created some unevenness I don't want to trip on. I'm paying attention to my surroundings, looking to the right, looking to the left. I'm looking for bicycles, dogs. If it's at nighttime, I'm knowing what's going on behind me. They call that situational awareness. And I engage in situational awareness when I'm out and about, when I'm walking around, when I'm driving, when I'm jogging, when I'm with my family. And situational awareness also applies to being online. Whatever situation you're in, you need to be aware of it. And so that means every phone call, text message, email that I get, every pop up, I am aware of this little situation. What is that text message trying to accomplish? What is that email trying to get out of me? Is the person on the other end worthy of my trust, and so on? And so the strategic human firewall, or basically like a firewall, traditional firewalls, they filter internet traffic. They filter traffic inside of the device or trying to get inside the device. Human firewalls filter intent. What is the intention of the phone call, email, text message, and so forth? So the strategic human firewall essentially blocks deception. It is a proactive governance, a mindset that turns us as, consumers, citizens, employees, from passive targets into active detection layers. Like, you're looking for it. You're looking for the harm, and so forth. Okay. It's the shift from, by default, because of the human blind spot. The human blind spot is, I trust what I see. We trust by default. To, I verify everything. Again, I'm looking for it. Essentially, this is how we achieve what I call security appreciation. And security appreciation is the shift from basic awareness, which is in your head, knowing, to appreciation of security, which is in your heart, caring about these issues and doing something about it. When employees appreciate how security protects their own lives, first and foremost, that's when behavior changes permanently. I call this the security appreciation gap. Essentially, it's that chasm between an employee's intellectual understanding of, risk, right? Which again is awareness, in the emotional commitment to act on that knowledge, which again is appreciation from the heart. And ultimately, we achieve the kitchen table effect with that, which essentially is the multiplier effect when the employee goes home and they take what they just learned at work, security appreciation, and they teach those concepts to their families, cementing those lessons for life.
I think we've going back to being more trusting. I think we've become very trusting in terms of, I think the obvious one is remember my password here, or remember my site here. But going back to that ownership of being awareness, there's a trend, and probably I think quite a good trend to delegate more work and get people more involved and empower them to make decisions. But if you're doing that without helping them understand, I guess that need for more risk awareness, that seems to be a potential gap in I guess that security firewall.
That is the gap. That truly is the gap. Because in the end, actually, in the beginning, humans don't really want more security in their life as much as they might believe they do. And what that means is, while that sounds odd, security goes against our core beliefs. Like I said, we trust by default. Security is, I don't trust others. There are bad people out there that do bad things, and I need to protect myself from them. That's what security is. And most people don't even want to believe to begin with that they would ever be chosen as a victim of a crime. Therefore, they function in a state of denial and they do nothing. They literally do nothing. Like, they don't lock the doors to their home. They don't install a home security system. They don't protect their own identities. They don't effectively manage their passcodes. They don't set up two-factor authentication. They say security is not my responsibility. It's somebody else's job. Plus, why would they attack me? Why would they steal my identity? Why would they hack my computer or my small business? There are other big businesses out there that are better targets. So they function in a level of denial and they ultimately do nothing. And that's great for the hackers, for the bad actors. They love that. They love that you do nothing. They love that you function in denial. They love that you choose to, basically put your head in the sand. And that's a lot of people. I would say about 90% of the world's population does almost nothing. And I know this because I get in front of live audiences for a living. And I've been doing this now for almost 40 years, essentially 30 years professionally. And when I get in front of a live audience, my job is to challenge their belief systems in regards to what security is and what security isn't. My job is to change the culture around security. And I ask basic questions to challenge their belief systems. Questions like, okay, so how many of you can honestly say that you use a different passcode across all your critical accounts? Raise your hands. If I get 10% of the room, that's a lot, which means 90% are using the same passcode across multiple accounts. Next question, how many of you use two-factor authentication for all your critical accounts, including email? If I get 15% of the room, that's a lot, right? Which means 85% are not using two-factor authentication. How many of you are using a password manager to manage all the passwords you're supposed to have? If I get 10% of the room to raise their hand, that's a lot. So what does this mean? It means 80 to 90+% of the general public is using the same passcode across multiple accounts and not using two-factor authentication. And I say, well, did you know, and this is true, in the past 2 decades, some sources say about 300 billion of our records, names, addresses, phone numbers, email addresses, right? About 20 billion passwords are in the hands of criminals. 20 billion. Think about that. And so when I expose that and I show that to the audience, they're like, whoa. And I literally show them because On my own computer that I'm on right now, I have like files of like 25 million passwords that I downloaded from the dark web. And I say, hey, look it. And I literally scroll through like a significant portion of them. They're like, whoa, wait a minute. Like, this is real? That this is happening? I'm like, yeah, it's 2026. This has been going on for 30 years. Like, where you been? And so now they're like, okay, wait a minute now. So you're telling me that I'm not supposed to have the same passcode across multiple accounts because my passcode, like you've just shown me, is in the hands of the criminals? I'm like, yes. And they're like, okay, so which password manager do I use? And now they're like interested in what you have to say. That's what security awareness training should be, but it right now isn't with most organizations. Most organizations are providing phishing simulation training, which is this is what a phishing email looks like. Don't click these links. Don't do this or else. And people don't care about that. What they care about is themselves, in their identities, in their kids' digital footprint, in their bank accounts, managing their own passcodes, protecting their own money. And when you train from the perspective that all security is personal, and truly all security really is personal, it boils down to protecting your person, both from physical harm and from theft, and protecting your identity and protecting your finances, which is theft, which is often virtual or almost always at this point. And once you train from that perspective, they're like, okay, yes, we want more of this in our lives. And ultimately that translates to in their businesses or at their place of employment.
So, that's quite confronting, the amount of data that is available in the, as you mentioned, from the dark web. It's very easy for somebody like yourself to get access to that. And I guess you look at the trail between, okay, I've used that password for this account and that's been accessed over here, but I've also used that same password over here on my bank account, and I've used that same password to log into this program at the office. It doesn't take a lot of time for somebody who's conducting a business of cybercrime to join the connections and work out, okay, well, Joe works at XYZ organization. We've got Joe's password from over here. Let's try that against all these other accounts that we know Joe, because we can easily find out about Joe because of social media and all the information available. It doesn't take a long time for somebody to do that. So, but when you, like you said, when you make it personal and you confront people with how easy it is, that changes, I guess, their understanding. I guess that changes their position. It becomes not a business problem; it becomes a personal problem.
And that ultimately is how you solve the business problem of security, is making it a personal problem to the user, to the employee. We are a self-interested creature. Human beings are selfish. And that the word selfish kind of gets a bad rap. Like, we need to be selfish. In order for me to be a good dad, I've got to get a good night's sleep. I need to prioritize my well-being in order for me to be a good provider. That means I got to get a good night's sleep. I got to eat good foods. I got to consume a certain amount of fluids every day. I got to take care of myself. That is a selfish endeavor. It's not a bad thing. It's necessary. Additionally, and I'm going to ask you a question really quick. When you're on an airplane and the flight attendant is providing the safety instructions, and she says, okay, when the oxygen mask comes down, what are you supposed to do first?
Well, you put your own oxygen mask on first.
Yes. And why is that?
Well, you can't help somebody if you're not able to breathe.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Exactly. So take care of yourself first in that extremely, security, safety event, so you can take care of others. And security awareness training should be just that, but it isn't. I mean, I do that. I've been doing that for 30 years. But most training that is offered is not that. When I present it, they're like, whoa, this is different. We haven't had this before. Just because nobody else is doing that, which is unfortunate. But when you do that, that's when employees like, look at when I'm hired, it's so fun because when I'm hired, it's because like the chief information security officer is like he's like, he or she is like, listen, we're doing pretty good in regards to our metrics when it comes to people not clicking links with the phishing emails, but we still have like a percentage of employees that still do. And like what we're finding is there's like this behavioral backslide where people are just kind of giving up when it comes to security. And what we really want to do is just make them care. How do you make them care? I'm like, I'll show you. Hire me. So I go in and they introduce me in front of a live audience, let's just say 500 people. Okay. And I'm looking out in the audience after I'm being introduced. And so I'm looking at 500 people literally crossing their arms, looking at me with a scowl on their face, checking their watches, looking at their phones. And like the vibe is like, okay, security guy, tell me something I don't already know. And so I start asking them a variety of challenging questions, belief challenging questions to challenge their belief systems in regards to what security is and isn't. And like one of the basic questions I ask them is like, how many of you have a home security system? Which is a basic 101 question, which is, I believe security starts at the home, while you're sleeping, where you're most vulnerable. Okay. And if I get like 10, maybe 15% of the room to raise their hand that they have a home security system, that's a lot. That's a lot, which means 85 to 90% don't have a home security system. And I asked them, I say, okay, so why don't you have a home security system? Like, you made a decision not to install one. You see all the advertisements on TV. Like, why didn't you install one? Well, actually, we don't have a home security system because I don't want to live like that. And I say, well, what does that actually mean? And they say, well, I don't want to live in fear. I don't want to always have to be looking over my shoulder. I don't want to have to worry all the time. I say, so you're saying to me that if you have a home security system, that means you're going to worry and live in fear? Yeah. Be a constant reminder that there are bad people out there to do bad things. And I trust people. I just want to trust people. I find the good in people. Like, these are the answers that I get. And what that truly means is like, okay, yeah, maybe you do trust people. Yes, of course we do. Maybe you want to see the good. Yes, you do. But like I know that in the US, I don't know about Australia, but in the US, every year, between 1.5 and 2 million homes are burglarized every single year, like clockwork. That means in the next decade, that's like 15 to 20 million houses. So I say, okay, so that being in the statistic, and like I'm a guy, and this is true, jumping off your I don't want to live like that, answer, I'm a guy that actually has 20 security cameras. I have 20 security cameras, like inside and outside my house in total. So when you hear, okay, this guy's got 20 security cameras, maybe a little excessive, sure, but what might you think they say in regards to my disposition, my belief systems? Like, I wake up every day with 20 security cameras. I must be what? What do you think they say?
I think crazy might come to mind. That's one of the things, but I
Yeah.
guess
What's
maybe
another word?
maybe
What's another word for crazy?
crazy. I guess obsessed,
Paranoid.
paranoid. Yeah, yep.
Yeah, they often say, like, literally 100 people go paranoid, and they laugh and they look at each other. Oh, we just called them paranoid, and and that's what most people think, that like you must be paranoid. Paranoia is what? It's a mental health disease. It's a disease of the mind, and truly, people who are paranoid are out of control. Like, their mind has failed in that regard. And they truly often do live in fear, under a constant red alert that people are out to hurt them, out to get them. That's truly what paranoia is. And we as a culture, I know at least here in the US, we associate security. I don't want to live like that. I don't want to live in fear. I don't want to be paranoid, is what people think of when it comes to security, which is a bad thing. Why would you want security in your life if it's that, if it's paranoia? Which is a lot of people. A lot of people culturally have been conditioned that security is paranoia. And so most employees don't engage in best practices at work because they don't engage in best practices at home because they don't want to live like that. And that's what I'm up against.
So I guess that what you're describing there is that fear, or that I guess a lack of trust in the rest of the world, in a way. But that, I guess, defending against the fact that we are overly trusting and too trusting at times, and that's where a lot of the issues occur. That we've trusted that email, we've trusted that person we're dealing with, we've trusted that engagement, without actually doing the checking, being a little bit paranoid about it. But I can think of so many businesses, if they were a little bit more paranoid, they would have saved themselves a lot of grief because they would have detected something. Uh, if if a business owner only had 1 hour, okay, let's say they only had 1 hour with you to improve their cybersecurity, where would you get them to focus that 1 hour on?
It's so easy. It's great, right? Because we all have the same concerns when it comes to security issues. We all want to protect our family. We all want to protect our money. We all want to protect our identities. We all want to protect our resources, right? And we all have people in our lives that, like maybe our parents, our mom, our dad, or maybe our sister or whoever, that like can't stop clicking links thinking that, like, okay, it's Apple just sent me a pop-up that I've got to call somebody to help me fix my computer because there must be a problem with it because Apple popped up on my computer and said that. It's like, no, Apple doesn't do that. Or Microsoft, sent me a text message that I've got to call this phone number because there's a problem with my device. And it's like, no, Microsoft doesn't do that. Or Google is calling me because Google said they have to reset my passcode. No, Google doesn't do that. Like, when you actually sit down and have a dialogue with your employees, with your coworkers in regards to risk management and all the various issues that we face regularly, those wrong number text messages you might get, people trying to reset your passcodes, people getting information off the dark web and logging in as you, like all the basic stuff. When you start talking about protecting your own identity, your own credit cards, your own finances, they literally like perk up and they pay attention because they want to know, because they've never really had an opportunity to talk to an expert that understands how all of that stuff works. And in that process, when you dispel all the cultural and societal myths revolving around security is about paranoia, it can't happen to me, all of, denial and such. When you dispel all that stuff, when you provide that perspective and like, well, yeah, that is kind of ridiculous. Going forward, they look at security in a positive light. And you could do all of that in under an hour, maybe 90 minutes. And before you know it, they're like, okay, so which password manager do you use? What security cameras do you have? What alarm system do you like? What antivirus do you have? Like, they want to know. And that's what security awareness training should be. But usually it isn't. But it is for me.
It seems to me that a lot of the security training that we've been told to implement is really just the regular sort of tick the box, I guess, treating the symptom or the potential symptoms, not actually the cause or the root causes of what could be the issues or where the problems really are. It's like, yeah, we don't delve deep enough because we don't treat it as our issue. We treat it as a business issue. I think you've really helped us step away from that and think about more that it is our issue. It is something personal. We need to take more responsibility for it. We
Yeah.
need to be, I guess, bit less trusting and a bit more and more paranoid about what we're actually doing and what we're clicking on.
How about be more of a strategic human firewall?
That sounds a great way, a nice way to say it, because nobody likes to be told they're more paranoid.
Yeah.
But a
Strategic.
strategic human firewall, and I think that's a great a summary of what you've been describing with us, Robert. I think the next question people are asking is, well, how do we get started on this process, and how do we reach out to you?
Well, first, look at your current training. How is it working? Is it really solving the problem? Is it really moving the needle? And if you want to, like, not completely change things up, but add on to it, right? That's just a matter of having a conversation. How do you make the employees care about security? Have a dialogue with them. Let's have a dialogue, right? And that dialogue is easy. You can do it virtually. You can do it in person. You could do it like I recently spoke to a large corporation in Silicon Valley in the US. I spoke to 400 people. simulcast via Zoom to 5,000 people. I spoke to 5,000 people, right? And I'm answering questions via Zoom to 5,000 people. I'm answering questions in the room to the 400 people. And when I ask, the person who raised their hand sitting in front of me, yes, your question, sir. And he asked the question. And then I go to Zoom. Yes, sir, you had a question. Oh, yeah, that guy just asked it. Because they all have the same question, the same questions that they've never had an opportunity to ask an expert, which is, fine. But now's the time. So for me, I'm all over the Google, right? LinkedIn, of course. I give it away for free every couple of weeks via my newsletter. Otherwise, my website is protectnowllc.com, protectnowllc.com.
Fantastic. As always, we put the links to how to get in contact with Robert and his website in the show notes and also on the businessbehindyourbusiness.com website. I think one of the big takeaways today from this conversation is that cybersecurity, it's not just about technology. It is definitely about people. It's a people issue, becoming the strategic human firewall, changing the habits that we have and making better choices. Look, if we do that, we're a long way ahead to protecting ourselves against cybersecurity, but you've got to stay vigilant. You've got to stay, let's not say paranoid. You've got to stay
strategic,
strategically alert.
Yeah.
Robert, it's been an absolute pleasure. You've really, I guess, opened up a conversation here, and I think it's a starting point for a lot of business owners to have that conversation with all their team, but also a conversation. One thing you mentioned was take that conversation home and share it with your family, because if the listeners are like me, I've got 4 kids, 4 kidults, I guess. They're all in different areas and they're being exposed to these things, and they're probably not thinking about cybersecurity as a personal issue. They're still thinking about it as a technical issue, and we need to change that. We need to have that conversation. So, Robert, thank you very much for your conversation today. It's been enlightening, eye-opening, and certainly shed some light on the true way that we can protect against cybersecurity as a business owner. So thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure to meet you.
That's a wrap for this episode of The Business Behind Your Business. We hope you found today's discussion insightful and valuable for your business journey. Before we go, don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favourite platform. Share it with fellow business owners who could benefit, and send in your burning questions because we love hearing from you. Missed any of our previous episodes or looking for additional resources to help grow your business? Head over to our website at thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. There you'll find our full archive of past episodes, along with show notes, transcripts, and links to valuable resources mentioned in each episode. Your journey to business success continues at thebusinessbehindyourbusiness.com. Until next time, stay inspired, stay informed, and keep building the business of your dreams.